Muhammad Jemni stated, "Disability is not the problem, the accessibility is the problem." There are many types of handicaps, but the one that is usually the most overlooked is being deaf or hard of hearing. There is a large deaf and/or hard of hearing population in the United States alone, whose struggles are unseen. Though not all of us are directly affected or connected to this population, it is our responsibility as a society to make life more accessible to those that are handicapped. There is not enough awareness about the lives of the deaf and lack of accessibility for them in modern society. Due to this, I believe that ASL should start being taught in schools as a requirement beginning in elementary. This would lead to future generations of more educated individuals who are aware of the problem and minimizing the gap of communication between the hearing world and the deaf. Discussing and bringing the problems of the deaf to light is a great way to begin raising awareness. The current way of life is not made to accommodate the needs of the deaf. Simple things such as ordering coffee or watching TV are difficult without the help of aids, and even then, not everything that is available for the hearing is available for the deaf. Most people that are completely deaf have a hard time going to regular schools because there are not many ASL-friendly activities and learning methods. Deaf people can have a hard time making friends and aren't able to have standard social interactions. The situation can be compared to being an immigrant in America and not knowing English. Communicating with others is nearly impossible, but for people who are deaf, there is no other option of learning the language. You simply have to hope that the person can communicate in yours. There is not enough education involving ASL. Private schools tend to have more in-depth courses on various languages because they are not funded by the government. For public schools, the depth of teaching depends on the region and population. The lack of education students have concerning ASL will only enlarge the gap between the hearing and the deaf. Not only is there a small percent of people who have ASL knowledge, but there are not many options available to students in the time when their minds are most capable of retaining language. Most schools don't offer ASL until high school, and even then offer only 1 to 2 years of language, making it difficult to complete graduation requirements, and therefore discouraging people from taking the course. The only way to solve the problem from its source is to begin editing the education system and encourage the learning of ASL. Schools should begin teaching ASL as a requirement, starting in elementary. There is plenty of new technology to make schools more ASL friendly for the deaf students, as well as students studying the language. There is new AI that recognizes signing with 70% accuracy, and that's just the beginning of more research and other programs being developed to accommodate the deaf, as researched by IEEE Explore in 2020. Learning ASL is not only beneficial to the deaf population, but also to the learner. Learning a second language, specifically ASL, improves cognitive development, fine motor skills in younger, still developing children, as stated by Hakeem Samantha from Bank Street College of Education in 2016. I believe the required cursive curriculum should be replaced with the basics of ASL. Cursive requires a lot of time and hours of practice for kids to master. Most teachers spend about 1 to 2 hours a couple times a week, if not every day, for a period of about a month. If this time was dedicated to teaching the basics of ASL, most children would have a solid grasp. In addition, the teachings of ASL would have greater benefits than that of cursive. The standardization of ASL would benefit the approximate 600,000 deaf people in the United States. While cursive is shown to have its benefits, such as being a quicker method of writing, this has proven to be a myth because one single form of writing cannot be ideal for so many diverse people, especially children at such a young age, according to the Philadelphia Inquirer on November 17, 2020. Although this would be a big step for the deaf community, there are two sides to any coin. Overall, I believe this change would be mostly positive. Deaf people will no longer be ostracized by society because more accommodations are made to make their lives easier. If more people had a basic understanding of ASL, it could encourage students to keep learning more of it, or it could make communication just a little simpler for the deaf population. There are many benefits to knowing multiple languages. It not only allows for connection with all sorts of cultures and people, it also improves IQ and overall intelligence. There are only a couple negatives. This may be the final step in discontinuing the cursive writing style. Though it is historic, most people prefer the print writing style because it is easier to read and doesn't leave as much room for misinterpreting. People who have been writing in cursive since they were young argue that it is more proper and shows intelligence, although the last time I've seen cursive used is for signatures. Even then, it was barely legible and often only contained initials or symbols, regardless of the writing style. There is a small price to pay for the greater good. ASL proves to be far superior to cursive in its benefits and relevance to society. For those extremely affected by their disability, this could be a breath of fresh air and hope for a more accommodating society. The best way to make a difference is to stay informed and strive to educate ourselves and the ones around us of the injustices in society. Keep track of current events involving the deaf community and show your support, whether that be through volunteering, donation, or simply joining the cause. Though the solution would not be immediate, any good outcome requires time and consistency. As we attempt to correct these oversights, we can only hope that a couple years into the future, sign language basics will be just as natural as phrases like bonjour and como estas.